Hello everyone, today we'll be talking about renal blood flow in hypotensive patient and role of vasopressor. A common question comes up during the round is what vasopressor to use if a patient is hypotensive and if that vasopressor is going to improve the renal blood flow better than the others. The more intriguing question is, don't vasopressor cause renal vasoconstriction and therefore may worsen the renal blood flow further? So let's look into this question into more detail. Autoregulation is the main way your kidneys regulate the blood flow, and we discussed this in great detail in my previous lecture. Please go ahead and review it. But in short, around 80 to 90% of the renal vascular resistance is controlled by autoregulation. However, in hypotensive patient, these mechanisms are maxed out and other mechanisms come into play, which we'll talk about. Urine output is affected by three processes happening in your kidneys: renal perfusion pressure, amount that is filtered, and amount that is reabsorbed. During hypotension, all these three mechanisms are altered. However, in this lecture, we'll focus only on the renal blood flow. We'll come to the other two in later lectures. During hypotension, autoregulation has been already maxed out, so other factors come into play. For example, sympathetic nervous system, dopamine, vasopressin, prostaglandins, and endothelins. Let's examine how these chemicals change renal perfusion. There are a lot of studies on pressure on kidneys, and a lot of these differ from each other in many aspects. So make sure that you understand what the study is trying to measure. Let's look at the sympathetic nervous system first. When you're hypotensive, you stimulate your carotid and aortic bodies, which stimulate your sympathetic nervous system, and your adrenal medulla will produce norepinephrine. Norepinephrine stimulates beta-1 receptors in the heart, increasing the heart rate and contractility so as to increase the cardiac output, and it stimulates the alpha-1 receptors and causes vasoconstriction in your vessels. Combination of these two will maintain your blood pressure. Sympathetic nervous system activation results in production of epinephrine and norepinephrine by two pathways in kidneys. First, as we talked about, was stimulation of your adrenal glands. The second is your kidneys are intrinsically innervated by sympathetic nervous system via output from T12 to L2 through inferior mesenteric ganglion. And there's a resting sympathetic tone, which is important. In hypotensive patient, other source of epinephrine and norepinephrine is through your IV drips. Stimulation of sympathetic nervous system causes vasoconstriction of renal vessels, increases sodium and water reabsorption, and increases renin release from JG cells, which will finally result in production of angiotensin II. So what is the magnitude of normal resting sympathetic tone? When the rat's kidneys are denervated, the cortical blood flow increases by 25%. Even though norepinephrine causes vasoconstriction, when you give norepinephrine to a normal person, you actually get vasodilatory response with increase in renal blood flow and increase in GFR. And the reason for this is your autonomic sympathetic nervous tone. So let's understand why this happens. Normal renal vascular resistance is dependent on norepinephrine from your sympathetic nerve, that's your resting tone, and norepinephrine in your bloodstream. When you give IV norepinephrine and drive your blood pressure up, there is no reason for your sympathetic system to give stimulus to your kidneys, so you lose that resting tone. And this would decrease in the norepinephrine supply to the kidneys, would cause decreased vascular resistance. So if you increase your MAP, your renal vascular resistance decreases. Another concept to know about renal blood flow in kidneys is how the renal blood flow changes with the mean arterial pressure. And the slope of this line represents the resistance of the renal vasculature. The renal blood flow does not drop to zero when your MAP reaches zero. Your renal blood flow, in fact, drops to zero at a level much higher than zero, and that point is your critical closing pressure. This is the most quoted study in effect of norepinephrine on renal vasculature. This was a beautifully done study in which the animals were given norepinephrine drip to raise their MAP, and then followed by giving them sepsis and again giving them norepinephrine to maintain their MAP. Throughout this procedure, they measured the renal blood flow and resistance. And you can see when the blood pressure was increased by norepinephrine alone, the renal blood flow increases slightly. During endotoxemia, the blood pressure was lower and your renal blood flow dropped. And this was corrected beautifully by introduction of norepinephrine drip to normal levels. However, the amount of blood flow increased more when these animals were hypotensive than when they were normotensive, even with the similar doses of norepinephrine. To explain this observation, they found out that in normotensive kidneys, vasoresistance decreases with norepinephrine. However, your critical closing pressure increases. And combination of this suppresses the amount of blood pressure increase in a normotensive animal. When you give norepinephrine in endotoxemia, you get both decrease in resistance and decrease in critical closing pressure. Therefore, the effect of increasing renal blood flow is much higher. That explains why your norepinephrine works much better at lower blood pressure than at higher blood pressure in increasing renal blood flow. This is a visual picture of how the renal blood flow changes when you give norepinephrine. Initially, norepinephrine causes vasoconstriction. However, this effect does not last very long, and you can see normalization of renal blood flow. So let's look at the effect of IV norepinephrine when you give these two hypotensive patients. IV norepinephrine causes vasoconstriction of your both afferent and efferent. Efferent is slightly higher than the afferent, and it also increases your blood pressure, so increases your perfusion pressures. This maintains your renal blood flow and maintains your GFR. However, if you aim a higher blood pressure, you may decrease the renal sympathetic tone, so it may cause some vasodilation depending on the blood pressure achieved. Norepinephrine also stimulates the production of renin, which results in production of angiotensin II, and this further causes efferent arterial vasoconstriction. Both norepinephrine and angiotensin II stimulate production of prostaglandins, and these prevents excessive vasoconstriction. So the final renal blood flow when you give IV norepinephrine depends upon the sum of effect of all these individual processes. So let's understand it a little bit more carefully. When you give IV norepinephrine, it increases the blood pressure, decreases the sympathetic tone, and increases your prostaglandin production, which will cause increased perfusion and vasodilation. Effect of norepinephrine in causing vasoconstriction along with the renin-angiotensin system will decrease your renal blood flow. So as you increase the norepinephrine dose, you can see that your perfusion pressures are increasing. However, you're auto-regulating and causing more vasoconstriction. There's a decrease in sympathetic tone, which causes relatively more vasodilation. So your renal blood flow will slightly increase as you increase your norepinephrine dose. In hypotensive patient, once you go below the autoregulatory threshold, as your perfusion pressure keep on dropping, your renal blood flow will keep on dropping as well. When you give norepinephrine to a patient and maintain MAP of say 65 to 70, you're maintaining the renal perfusion pressure at a certain level. However, increasing the dose will cause more vasoconstriction and renin-angiotensin system activation. So as your norepinephrine dose increases, it will tend to initially maintain the renal blood flow till at high doses, your renal blood flow will start dropping. However, norepinephrine and epinephrine, when given to restore blood pressure in a hypotensive patient, will generally improve or maintain your renal blood flow. Next medication is dopamine. Dopamine has differential effect depending on the dose that it's used. At low doses, it causes vasodilation of your splanchnic, coronary, and renal vasculature. At intermediate doses, it causes chronotropic and inotropic effect, and at higher doses, causes vasoconstriction. One of the things that you have to remember that this dose range is not a clear cutoff value, but represents a prevalence of activation of a group of receptors over another with a wide range of individual variability. In kidneys, at low dose, it causes vasodilation of your interlobular arteries and both afferent and efferent arterioles. At high doses, it causes renal vasoconstriction. Because it causes vasodilation of both afferent and efferent, your hydrostatic pressure gradient remains the same, so GFR does not change. So the effect of dopamine in kidneys is vasodilation of both afferent and efferent arterioles without any change in GFR and increased renal blood flow. As you increase the dose, you get more cardiac output and perfusion pressure, so it increases your renal blood flow further. However, at higher doses, it stimulates your alpha receptors and causes vasoconstriction. Vasopressin receptors are present in efferent arterioles only, and these are 100 times more potent than norepinephrine, and therefore it causes vasoconstriction of your efferent arterioles. At low dose, this vasoconstrictor effect is limited to outer cortex, and at higher dose, entire cortex can be affected. In this study, vasopressin infusion shifts the lower limit of autoregulation to the left, which can sometimes help kidneys. So overall, vasopressin is a vasoconstrictor and it decreases the renal blood flow in the cortex and also medulla. There are few other molecules that can affect the renal blood flow. Let's look at them. First is your atrial natriuretic peptide. ANP dilates your afferent arterioles and vasoconstricts efferent arterioles. Therefore, your vascular resistance remains the same, so your renal blood flow remains the same. However, because of this differential effect, it increases your GFR. Prostaglandins vasodilates the afferent arterioles. However, their role is very limited under normal renal perfusion. Their production is stimulated by sympathetic nervous system and your angiotensin II. Prostaglandins start playing an important role in preventing severe vasoconstriction from these two agents. So try to avoid the NSAIDs if these mechanisms are at play. Watch my earlier lecture when not to use NSAID to understand better. Endothelin is both vasoconstrictive and vasodilatory depending on the receptor it stimulates. The ETA receptors are present in your cortical blood vessels, which causes vasoconstriction, while ETB receptors, which are vasodilatory, are present in your medullary blood vessels. So this is a very interesting chemical because it decreases your cortical blood flow while simultaneously increasing medullary blood flow. And we know from our previous lecture that medullary blood flow is really important as these areas becomes first one to be affected when your kidneys are hypoperfused. However, this is an area of active research and still more needs to be known. Glucose has shown to increase the renal blood flow and so has some protein ingestion and IV amino acids. However, these are clinically not relevant. In summary, norepinephrine vasoconstricts both afferent and efferent arterioles, but maintains or increases the renal blood flow due to increased perfusion pressures and reduction in renal sympathetic tone. Dopamine vasodilates both afferent and efferent arterioles and increases the renal blood flow. However, this does not result in increased GFR. Vasopressin vasoconstricts efferent arterioles and is much more potent than norepinephrine. It therefore decreases renal blood flow at higher doses, therefore use at low dose along with the norepinephrine. Endothelin is a renal vasoconstrictor but maintains medullary blood flow. Prostaglandins are renal vasodilator and prevent excessive vasoconstriction, so avoid NSAIDs in hypotensive patients. This is still an area of active research and there are more chemical compounds that are being discovered, and the evidence provided here may change with time. These are the references. Thank you.